You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the top 8 for the Eternal Tournament Series, weekly 5 of season 3. I am once again, for the 6th or 7th time, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host, Truedawn.
Hello, everyone.
We are about to get into our top 8 matches and go over the bracket. But before we do, really quick, allow us to shill ourselves a little bit. Feel free, if you guys enjoy the service that we all provide you, if you would like to make a contribution, it can be small as $1 or as large as your heart desires. Feel free to contribute to the aReNGee Eternal Patreon. That's patreon.com/aReNGee Eternal. Once again, that's patreon.com/aReNGee Eternal. We have various goals on the website. We just hit recently our $150 goal, which was expanded article content. So we now are producing a Tuesday article written by our wonderful tournament organizer, Rikenner himself, on the ETS and the state of it, as well as the meta. Our next goals are the $200 one is monthly Sunday tournaments, so we can run fun little side tournaments for all of our players and viewers on Sunday. And at $250, we have a guaranteed prize pool for major tournaments, which we are hoping to have quite a bit of cash, at least 2 times what we are seeing for the next invitational. So if you all enjoy the service we provide, feel free to kick us just a little bit of your hard-earned money. We do greatly appreciate it, since this is our only revenue source. And this source, all this revenue, goes back towards making this broadcast as wonderful as we try to every week for you all, as well as some of it does support the prize support and other things. So feel free, if you enjoy our service, to let us know by giving us a small donation at www.patreon.com/aReNGee Eternal. Now then, let us jump into the top 8 bracket. Let's take a look at this bad boy. So first off, at the top side of the bracket, as you all can direct your attention, we have Top 201 on his Combrano deck, Fiery Combre, Acaria Gold, whichever you prefer, against Catalyst, who I believe was on Shimmering Combre. We've got under them, we'll have Shed, who is on Stone Scar midrange, our only Stone Scar player. And in fact, I think the only one who has any Shadow in his deck today to make the top 8. He will be playing against Grumpy Old Man, who is on Elysian midrange. One of the only players to be playing Elysian, and the only one to make top 8. At the very bottom of the bracket, we have Red World, who we've seen multiple times today, also on his Fiery Combre or Combrano build. He will be facing off against Angry Chicken, who we saw earlier in the rounds, who is on Big Combre. And last but not least, the feature match for this round, we've got Love Up. He will be on Shimmering Combre versus Unearthly, who I'm sure you can all guess is on Rakondo, of course. And we did see him earlier.
Yep, it's a very mid-range heavy top 8. A lot of people taking advantage of the fact that a lot of the faster decks are either less popular or just objectively worse. So it makes room for people to play a slower game, do more powerful stuff. And we definitely see that bearing out in our top 8.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely see that a lot slower of a tournament, and this was certainly to be expected, but yeah, not as many people bringing Stone Scar really slowed us down into this mid-range meta that we've kind of seen develop. So we'll see. All of these players did well in the Swiss stages. Let's see if they can convert it when it becomes best of 5, and see in the battle of the mid-range decks which one comes out on top.
Yeah, and Unearthly is actually the odd man out in all this. He's the lone aggro deck player. Shed is playing Stone Scar midrange, but it's not truly an aggressive deck. It is much more a mid-range deck. So we will jump into this game and see if Unearthly, the sole representation of aggro, will be able to fight through all of this mid-range and claw to the top.
Yeah, and he is going to have an interesting matchup here. Shimmering Combry definitely has some tools at its disposal to handle this type of aggression Unearthly is going to be producing. Definitely cards like Desert Marshal and Vanquish are important for taking care of the big threats, as well as, cards like Permafrost to lock these smaller threats to the board.
Yeah, definitely. If Unearthly's gonna be able to get this Champion of Glory down, have this Rakano Outlaw, they're gonna have a good board. It'll be interesting to see if Lubov can actually present any resistance. And we do see a Desert Marshal come down to deal with this Rakano Outlaw, but the champion will still follow up, and Unearthly's not in a bad spot.
No, certainly not in a bad spot is Unearthly. He goes ahead and gets this champion down, plays his monument down wisely. That way he can make sure he has this Hammer of Might next turn, and he can crack away with his very big, what will be a 6/6 Champion of Glory, though we do see the Vanquish in Love-Up's hand, and this is where that card becomes so key in this matchup, is as soon as the Rakano player chooses to suit up one of their creatures, you can just as easily take it away from them. That being said, we do see the Soulfire Drake also hanging out. So there will be a response.
Sorry, we're
from
having some
Unearthly,
technical
and
problems.
whatever is
Bairdrus
on the
will
top of his
rejoin
deck
us
also has quite a
momentarily.
few Warcry triggers.
But
so
we do have
we'll see if that becomes relevant as we get to the later parts of the game as well.
So we do have this Soulfire Drake on the hand of Unearthly.
And
he is doing a good job.
Just a little bit of a beating down back and
Love-Up
forth.
is going to need something
based
like
on
Scorpion
Love-Up's
Wasp
hand,
as a Marshal to deal with this.
he's going to
Possibly
be able to
Sandstorm
stall this out
Titan.
here. He's
and
at
then
14,
reduce to Sandstorm Titan.
He's got
So
Sandstorm Titan to just kind of ground this Drake.
now
here
he's
for the time
aggression
being.
is blunted. The 7/7 Champion of Glory is pretty big game. That does matter a lot. So we will see, whether or not he wants to possibly trade the Soulfire Drake from the Torch or the Sandstorm Titan. I doubt it. Probably just going to see the Champion of Glory come down here and present a good... Oh, we do see an attack. Interesting. But the Champion of Glory is going to be one of the more important cards here.
Yeah, it certainly is. We apologize for the slight audio problem. One of our calls got dropped, so we apologize for the last probably minute of me and Truedawn no doubt talking over top of each other. But I'll let you go ahead and take over for a moment.
Okay, so he did elect to trade the Soulfire Drake and the Torch for the Sandstorm Titan, which I actually don't hate because it gives his entire deck either flying or charge, which is super relevant. And there was no prospect of that Soulfire Drake or the Torch really doing anything else in the game. So while that seems like a bad exchange, neither of those cards are really in a spot to do anything better.
Yeah, completely agree there. He's not really in a great position, although this is a very interesting board state on both fronts. Unearthly is just going to be able to keep beating away here for the time being with this Champion of Glory until Love-Up can find an answer. But Love-Up is at least going to be able to, mount a bunch of chump blockers with this scouting party coming down on the next turn, assuming he finds power. If not, he's going to have to sacrifice one of these units.
Yeah. And the scouting party is going to be what this game is about, really. If he can convert this into any kind of value, he can actually get to live to do all that. The Champion of Glory is just so good against Elysian base decks because Permafrost doesn't hit it, that Wasp doesn't work because it has quick draw. So it's really just down to Desert Marshal to silence it so the other cards can kill it, or just getting to a point where you can play something bigger than it or chump block it enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see a Love-Up getting in here with the 4 damage. I mean, he has managed to, start to very slowly pick apart Unearthly's life total with the 4/4. And we're seeing where the chump block will come down, deciding if it's going to be a Scorpion Wasp or if it's going to be a scouting party token, one of these little Yeti spies, and ends up opting for the Yeti spy. We'll see this Vanquish come down, no doubt, on the 4/4.
Yep, and this Champion Glory still doesn't really have much prospect of being answered. It's still a big problem, although Love-Up does have a lot of chump blockers for it. He could even tack in all 3 Yetis, draw 2 cards. He has the Scribe back to block. A little risky, but he has the Wasp also. We do see that come in. The 2 cards is a a lot of digging towards the things that matter: Shimmer Pack, Obelisk, anything to deal with this Champion of Glory.
Yeah, he would love to find Vanquish here, and it is threatening because Unearthly could just hit that plate at any time and take over the game. And he's already been doing pretty well. Ooh, and Endurance, Charge, Quick Draw. Yeah, 2 champions pushing in here, and fortunate for him that he left that Scorpion Wasp up. Not that he would be dead, but he'd be taking extra damage regardless.
If Love Up does want to get a little bit ambitious here, you could stand together and then double block the 3/3 and go to 1. It's like the only way you could kill one of these, and it's not like the best proposition, but it's something worth considering.
Well, actually, the 3/3 won't die.
Because Quick Draw. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, unfortunately, due to the Quick Draw, he's not going to have any profitable blocks, so just decides to chump in the Yeti Spy token. And yeah, unfortunately, Love Up just drawing pretty dead here. It looks like Unearthly is going to be able to take over this game.
Yeah,
and interesting attack there.
Yeah, it's a little aggressive. Leaves you don't die to a torch or something like that, but it is a little bit risky. He doesn't have to double chump block here. He can go to 2. He is going to elect to double chump block though. He does need to draw something here. At least a creature. Hopefully,
yeah.
Not sure actually what gets him out of this. Vanquish, I guess.
Not too sure either. Yeah, Vanquish would at least keep him alive. So we see a Temple Scribe picked up. That's important as well. Temple Scribe allows you to cycle. But yeah, no Vanquish picked up. Still going to be dead to Torch next turn. Still poking away with the Scorpion Wasp in the meantime. Yeah, and Shogun Scepter picked up. That's going to be pretty big here since he's only going to be able to block the 7/7. He's going to go down to 1. I guess it's not that big, but it does put another threat on the board, so it reduces the Love Up's out considerably now that he has to block 3 units and he's on 1 health.
I actually think it cuts off his outs entirely because he could draw a scouting party, but then they just all have to chump block. So then, yeah, we see Love Up just throw the concession, draws a power. Champion of Glory is one of the more important cards in that matchup. It really isn't easy for the Elysian deck to answer. They really need a silence effect to take away its keywords because Endurance and Quick Draw are both incredibly relevant, shut off a lot of the removal available in the Shimmering Combat deck. And because we're doing best of 5s in top 8, we will see players immediately move into game 2.
Yep, and we're going straight back into game 2, and Unearthly's got a beautiful hand, honestly. I'm really surprised he ends up kicking that back. I can't believe he kicked that hand back. Like maybe he just didn't feel it was quite strong enough. Like there definitely are answers in the Shimmering Comber deck to shut it down, but man, like he had 5 units and 2 power as opposed to what looks like just a super dead hand here.
You got to pay me a lot of money to ship a hand with turn 1 Oni Ronin on the play. Like turn 1 Oni Ronin on the play is just one of the more powerful things you get in the game. He even had follow-ups. There was equipment in there too, so it's certainly an aggressive mulligan.
Yeah, certainly an aggressive mulligan, but I'll take Unearthly's mulligan advice here. I'll believe that he understands that he should have mulliganed that hand. It's going to be an interesting one though, since he is going to likely be behind here by quite a bit. Yeah, picks up another Shogun Scepter, so still no unit to actually put this down on, and we're going to see the 12 turn or 13 clearing clock as it was established by the Amber Acolyte going to be the very, very slow beatdown game plan here from Love Up.
Yeah, and this is just the game feels like very early, but Unearthly is just so far behind. You really need to get creatures early, start snowballing Warcry, and get like all of your deck working, because if he's just all in on, well, now I have to top deck a creature, and if I can Deep Forge plate it, maybe that gets me somewhere. Now you're just cold to Scorpion Wasp or Vanquish, and we do see Love Up has one of those. So from this spot, it's just very challenging for Unearthly's deck to execute its game plan. It's not equipped to fight from here.
No, it really is not. And Unearthly not picking anything up in particular, going to just goes ahead and throws out an all according to plan. Unearthly taking this in good humor, realizing that he's just super dead here. Not much he can unfortunately do about this. And yeah, Love Up's just going to go ahead and drop that Desert Marshal, drop his Obelisk down, provide a massive beat down here, and I'm sure we'll see the concession come out of Unearthly.
Yeah, the mediocre beats have been upgraded to at least normal beats.
Yeah. We see Unearthly, and this is the problem with the Rakano deck as it stands these days. Like, this is where I feel like Rakano does have somewhat of a problem. The deck is very reliant on weapons and combat tricks, and if you don't have units to apply weapons and combat tricks to, well, then they're just dead cards in your hand, as we see in this matchup.
Yeah.
So, we saw the 2 Shogun Scepters, the Vanquish. And of course, that doesn't happen every game, or nobody would play Rakano. But it does happen more often than I think people realize.
Yeah, as someone who's played like hundreds of games for Kano, it does happen more than you would like. You generally run about 24 creatures, and you really want to run 26, 28, but then you're cutting into, again, those equipment and pump spells that actually allow your creatures to attack, because all your creatures are really small. They need to, you can't just be cold to a 4/4 or whatever. So you have to have all these things that make the creatures relevant, and striking that balance is actually pretty difficult.
Yeah, and we see the players going into their sideboarding right now. Love Up just taking a look at his. Unearthly, notably, immediately stripping out those torches. Looks like his protects are staying in for the time being. Looks like he also took out a Drake, I think. Yeah, took out a Drake and swapped it for a plate. I think, yeah, and he's got the Silverwing Familiars in as well. So currently in the list, wonder if they'll come out. Wouldn't be surprised if they did not, since they are a little harder for this deck to deal with outside of Sandstorm Titan.
Yeah, it really is. They have Wasp and Sandstorm Titan, so I don't love it just because I kind of don't love Silverwing Familiar at all. But if there's any matchup where it is good, it is one where they have limited interaction for it, and this would certainly qualify as long as you can either silence or kill Sandstorm Titans.
Yeah, and Unearthly just going through and trimming a few of his numbers. We're going to see what Love Up, on the other hand, wants to do. Interesting that he's considering cutting Wasps. He does cut a Shimmer Pack down, which makes sense. Not really playing as much towards the late game. Just need as much early game interaction as possible to try and stem this all-out aggression that the Rakano deck tries to throw at you.
Yeah, and the Scorpion Wasp was an interesting one. It's really, really good against every creature that isn't Outlaw and Champion of Glory, and really bad against those two. So I think on the balance, you definitely keep some number, because there will be situations where they have a Soulfire Drake or a Crownwatch Paladin with a suit on it. So you do want access to that, but I could definitely see why he would consider it.
Yeah, certainly. So it does have a couple of them still in the deck. Decides to cut his Great Parliament as well. I think actually Love Up is just making cuts to the deck right now. So I think maybe that Scorpion Wasp did stay in, and he's deciding to bring in some Copperhall Bailiffs. It looks like that's going to be the decision. And Unearthly trying to decide right now what the sweet spot of his deck actually is. Unearthly much more of a cut one of a bunch of different cards type of player, it seems, or at least in this matchup, than cut one of anything altogether, which it is fair. Rakano has a hard time sideboarding sometimes because so many of your cards are so good and universally.
Yeah, Rakano is trying to assemble A plus B. Just have a creature, things to make the creature able to attack, snowball your Warcry, draw stuff. So there's not a lot of things that become bad. It was also interesting to see Love Up keep in Stand Together, which is a card I don't envision having a great deal of utility in this matchup. We'll see if that I'm wrong or how that plays out. But here we go into game 3, and Unearthly does not have a good hand again.
It does not have a good hand, but it is the one he is forced to play nonetheless. And Love Up with his first turn, just going to go ahead and drop power, and we're just going to see powers and pass back and forth. Unearthly does have that Protect in hand, which could be relevant at some point, though we don't see any removal hanging around in Love Up's hand. Protect, a very interesting card in this matchup, really can only get around Permafrost and Vanquish.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. I don't know how much I like it in the matchup. I feel like you need things like Deep Forge Plate, Righteous Fury if you had access to it, Soulfire Drake, things that ignore all the little chump blockers and make your creatures go over the top. They don't have a lot of targeted interaction, and I don't know if Protect is worth the full slot, although Unearthly seems to think it does. He has a lot of experience with the deck. I've often underrated Protect in the past, so we'll see how much value he's able to get from it. And his draw has actually panned out reasonably well, drawing that Justice Sigil that let these 2 seats come into play and depleted. So he's been able to curve out.
Yeah, and deciding right now, Unearthly, is whether or not he wants to drop this Shogun Scepter or just get in with the 3 and drop another Champion of Glory to follow it and be able to hold up that Protect in case anything comes down. Although neither of these units can be targeted by any type of removal Love Up is playing.
Yeah, the Shogun Scepter is a little weird in this matchup because there's so many random 1/1s hanging around to trade with the Oni Ronin. It's still a good weapon. You still get the Warcry and the creature equipped. The Oni Ronin will still attack in a Warcry. The Warcry triggers do matter. This is a matchup very much dictated by creature size, at least creatures that have Overwhelm or Quick Draw. So well, he's decided not to get value from the Scepter that turn. That's completely reasonable. We'll see if he's able to convert it later down the road.
Yeah, and we see Love Up on his turn picking up a Desert Marshal, and this is going to be awesome for him. He's going to be able to silence down one of these Champions of Glory, probably the one that just got buffed by the Scepter, I imagine. And
although this Protect is going to get value here.
Yeah, he can protect for value, although I think Unearthly's deciding that he doesn't really want to in this situation, which is not too surprising since it's not the end of the world. But it is a little curious that he doesn't decide to leave it and just assume that the engine he generated with that 5/4 Warcry 2 can't just keep chugging along, or Warcry 1.
I think this is Unearthly telegraphing that he really wants to win with this Deep Forge plate, which I agree with. While a 5-power quick draw is very good, a 8-power quick draw Overwhelm Endurance is near unbeatable. So I envision he's going to Crown Watch this turn, attack, and the next turn Deep Forge plate with Protect up, and then just make a thing that Love Up cannot beat.
Yeah, that will be very hard for Love Up to deal with. 10 damage Overwhelm coming in every single turn, and it's quick draw, so it's not really like you can block it very effectively either. No real hope of ever trading into it. And Unearthly says, Scouting Party? Sure, go ahead and play it down. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, and we'll just see the Deep Force play come down on the Champion of Glory. He could even play on something else, but I think he just play on the Champion. And then the 2/1 and the 2/2 are just there to deprive draws from the Yeti. This 10/10 is just going to rumble every turn for the rest of the game until Love Up can provide 2 answers to it, because the first one's checked by this Protect.
Yeah, he's absolutely destroying right now. Love Up going to need to find something desperately to deal with it, and he picks up a Vanquish, which I know he thinks is going to be good, but that Protect says otherwise.
Yeah, so now this Champion's going to get at least one more attack in. Love Up doesn't have great attacks. You could draw a card, I guess, which maybe are these Yetis getting better than that? I'm not sure they are.
They combined are 4 health, so maybe, but no, he probably needs to get in for the card here, and he's going to recognize that. Go ahead and try and draw a card. He also gets the Oni running off the board, so it's not the worst ever. But yeah, Love Up is looking in pretty bad shape right now. Needs to hit another Vanquish off the top.
Although we could do some math here. This, because he has the Gemblade, so he's going to have 13 points of power against what is currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 15. So he's Love Up won't be dead next turn, but this is a bunch of damage coming in. Even this Copperhall Bailiff only stems the bleeding a little bit.
Yeah, he is going to have to bust most of his units here to stay alive. He will go 12, so we'll need to see 5 health worth of units being bust under this big old Rakano Outlaw. And, well, 6 health to stay alive. So, yeah, I mean, when you add up to 6 on this board, that's basically going to be all 3 of the Temple Scribes and the Bailiff, since the other Yeti is exhausted. And, I mean, yeah, that puts Love Up in a very difficult situation. If he rips another Vanquish, though, he could very easily come back into this game. Unearthly is more or less out of gas at this point.
Yeah, Unearthly's all in. He could just attack for 9 here and then play the Crown Watch Paladin, look to Gemblade the Crown Watch Paladin. That's the more conservative line of play. But I think that these are the kind of spots with Rakano that you just shove all in, say, if you got it, you got it. I'm just going to attack with my 12-12.
Yeah, and he's definitely making him have it right now. And, interesting that we see this is the line of blocks he takes. I guess he just keeps more go wide, more chumpers. Either way, He does go down to 2 health here, and Scouting Party, the pickup for Love Up, not going to be enough. He's not going to have enough health anyway to bust this and not die. So
yeah, he just can't generate enough toughness to even survive, let alone like all the jump blocks. So we will see
Yeah,
Love Up concede there and move on.
Yeah, Unearthly going up 2-2-1, taking down the first game post board, and we see that Protect coming in handy right there, saving him from the Vanquish. So
yeah, and I do like that game plan from Unearthly, just to make something Voltron, use the Protects to protect it, and just the Shimmering Comrade deck is just not equipped to beat a card like that.
No, it's really not. Shimmering Combray, because it does have a lot of like smaller units and token type cards through your Temple Scribes and Amber Acolytes. Once you put Deep Forge Plate on any single unit, it's very hard for the Combray deck to beat it if their removal doesn't connect. And when their removal is protected away, yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot you can do there, unfortunately. We see the extra Vanquish now coming in for Love Up. We also see some extra Copper Hall Bailiffs coming in to hopefully just, again, stem that early aggression.
You see him bring an extra Crystallize as well, which is the thing that feels a little slow in the matchup, especially when he just took out the slows, acknowledging that the things he's dying to are generally going to have endurance. So the stun and slow effects are going to be less relevant, although he brings back my Permafrost. So
yeah, that is very true, though. A lot of the units having endurance in Unearthly's deck doesn't make Crystallize or Permafrost very viable in this matchup. We'll see how game 4 progresses, though. Unearthly up 2-1 over Love Up. Going to ship back his opening hand to find a reasonable hand here. Not the best in the world, but it's a reasonable nonetheless. Although that Temple Scribe on turn 2 for Love Up will get in the way of this little Oni Ronin.
yeah, the Shogun Scepter should be good on either the Oni Ronin or the Familiar, however this game plays out. But the way it looks from our perspective is Love Up has a draw that lines up very well against Unearthly's.
Yeah, he does line up quite well, and Unearthly's going to need to find something besides power to really get him there. I mean, he's got the bird, but the bird's going to go down to the Scorpion Wasp, and in the meantime, I mean, Love Up can establish these Seraphs, and he's not particularly worried about it. And Unearthly might think he has the go-ahead and be able to suit up this bird and start attacking, but obviously that Scorpion Wasp is going to handle it quite easily.
Although this is the upside of Shogun Scepter, even if Love Up has the Wasps, which you know they do, Unearthly still gets value from the Shogun Scepter, both in the Warcry Trigger and the Oni Ronin. The Oni Ronin may not seem like much, but just having a body in play, making all of Unearthly's top deck weapons live in a situation where he has no more creatures is still very useful.
No, it absolutely is. It circumvents the problem that we had discussed of not having enough units to put buffs on, which is really the biggest problem with the Rakano deck, is just running out of cards and running out of units to actually stick things to.
And here we see. Sorry, you can go.
Oh no! I was just going to say that we'll see Unearthly decide here, and we do see him trying to make this decision between the Scepter and the Outlaw, trying to value which one he actually thinks is worth more, and just trying to guess what kind of removal Love Up is packing right now.
Yeah, because he can only play one of these cards a turn. He kind of wants to Shogun Scepter, but he also wants to Rakano Outlaw. So we see that he's going to just play the Rakano Outlaw after attacking for 1. Baits out the Desert Marshal, which isn't bad. This is an interesting use of Desert Marshal. I guess the plan for Love Up is to Copper Hall Bailiff or Permafrost, the Silver Familiar.
Yeah, I guess he's going to Copper Hall Bailiff here, though. This does open up things like the Shogun Scepter to actually turning that bird back on and providing some sort of clock in the air. Although Scorpion Wasp and Permafrost can very easily deal with these units. So Unearthly really needs to find something and not just power right now.
Yeah, and I think in this spot, I'm actually Shogun Sceptering the Outlaw just because it gives me an additional Warcry trigger. It'd be interesting to see what Unearthly chooses, but it may, so putting on the bird makes so you have 2 threats, but right now the Outlaw can't attack anyway, so it doesn't really count. So in either situation, you have a creature that doesn't matter, and I'd rather get the additional Warcry trigger, so you're just in the future drawing creatures that matter. Although he can actually attack her, just bumps with the Outlaw.
Yeah, and chooses not even to block. Love Up doesn't want to lose one of his units to something cute like a Finest Hour, so he just elects to let both of those go through. In the meantime, though, I mean, he's built a board that's pretty reasonable for himself, and we see there on a turn. He's on turn. Actually, I think what is his turn 6, and he's still at 21, so he's definitely survived the early onslaught of the Rakano player. And we see the Obelisk coming down now to pressure Unearthly instead of the other way around.
This is actually a very aggressive line by Love Up that he's getting a little bit punished for. The only reason going to trade for the 3/2. He Unearthly has a Vanquish for the Seraph, and then it's going to be an exhausted 3/4 against the 2/2 Warcries. So Unearthly will get 2 more Warcry triggers, 4 damage. If he draws another creature, he gets to actually swing the board back in his favor.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, there will be a bunch of Warcries stacked on top of the deck now. I mean, we had 2 from last turn and 2 from this turn. So we definitely, and I think 1 from the early game as well, but I don't know. Oh yeah, no, it was distributed on the Rakano Outlaw. So yeah, there still are about 4 Warcries hanging out on top of the deck. Unearthly deciding if he really wants to vanquish the Seraph. I think you have to here.
Yeah, I think he's thinking about how can he beat Sandstorm Titan. I'm pretty sure the answer is no. So that's why he was thinking about it. He wanted to save it for something like that, but he decided it's just going to be way too difficult to beat with the 4 or 5 already in play. So just has to tag it.
Yeah, and just falling terribly behind. Love Up going to go ahead and get the Wasp in here, so he at least trades that away. But I mean, Unearthly does have 6 or 7 Warcries. Like if he pulls a plate here, like this could be enough.
Yeah, because plate makes the permafrost dead, and then he has a protect to check the vanquish. So if this Warcry went on a plate, Unearthly could steal this one.
Yeah, he certainly could, but unfortunately, we really just aren't seeing it right here. And now comes the full pressure from the Shimmering Combri player on the way back. Permafrost notably uncastable anyway.
Oh yeah, he
Which
does
is why
not
we
have primal
haven't seen
mana.
this. Yeah, we have not seen the Rakano Outlaw lockdown this whole time because of that, but Unearthly just flooding out terribly in the Rakano deck and elects to just go ahead and take the concession, realizing he cannot win from the state.
That's very unfortunate for Unearthly. They're drawing 10 power, going, 4 or 5 draw steps without seeing what he war cried. It's just incredibly unlikely and unfortunate for Unearthly.
Yeah, very, very unlikely that would have happened, but it happened nonetheless. So we will go into a game 5, and we will see who can bring this one down as it comes down to the wire.
Both players very content with their sideboard, just immediately moving into game 5. Unearthly is probably the best hand he's had so far this series, so we'll see if this can work out for him.
Yeah, Love Up not with the best hand he's had, but a very reasonable hand overall. Probably going to play this Diplo Seal for Justice on the start of his turn, although also considering getting the banner down, yeah, that works out just as well now that he can play a Desert Marshal on his turn too.
And this is where Rakano's at its best when it gets to go 1-drop, 2-drop Warcry. Just to start the chain rolling. All the things he top decks are going to be relevant. He even has a Valkyrie to follow up, a protect to protect against removal spells. We're going to likely see a Desert Marshal just come in here. Yeah, he did a main phase so we can take away the Warcry from the Oni Ronin. Still presents a blocker for either one. So
yeah, solid play out of Love Up there. We saw him briefly consider using Time Sigil for the Temple Scribe, but he wisely realized that if he did that, would not have been able to use Diplo Seal for Justice, which would have locked out at least the Combri Healer and the Seraph. And Combri Healer is going to be super important in this matchup. Gives him health and a very solid body on the ground.
Yeah, now that Love Up has like kind of weathered the 1-drop, 2-drop, he has like just exceptional blocker after exceptional blocker and the Scorpion Wasp. So he's going to be able to blunt a lot of what Unearthly is doing. And we do see the nerf to Crown Watch Paladin actually allows Love Up to Temple Scribe this turn because it still threatens to trade with the Crown Watch Paladin. He doesn't have to spend his turn using Cumber Healer.
Yeah, very true. And we do see Unearthly going to jam in anyway. So this Temple Scribe going to have drawn a card and trade off with a Crown Watch Paladin. And yeah, that nerf definitely being very relevant here. Unearthly just getting his Champion of Glory down. And, you know, still providing solid threats on the board. And Champion of Glory is definitely scary as a 4/4, though can be blocked out very easily with this Combri Healer.
Yeah, and then Love Up even drew a Desert Marshal for good measure. So he could probably just put down the 2-5, bump with the champion. If they have a torch or whatever, I think that's not the end of the world for you. You still have this Desert Marshal to follow up.
Yes, certainly not. Probably just going to Valkyrie Enforcer, the Combri Healer, and try and get aggressive here, realizing that he needs to push this clock very quickly.
Yeah,
get in here.
Love Up is actually at a higher life total than when he started on turn 4, so it's not the best spot for Unearthly. He will be able to do some damage this turn, change that paradigm, but he needs to get it moving.
Yeah, he definitely does. I mean, Unearthly does at least have 4 damage in the air, and 4 damage is not a little bit. But we do see Desert Marshal coming out though, so that will be able to ground one of the Valkyrie Enforcers if need be. We see the Temple Scribe coming out first and does get rewarded, trying to be able to play 2 drops. And I think that was a very solid play. I think Low Up recognizes he needed to make 2 plays this turn.
Yeah, and then the downside also isn't awful. You still have a block on the 4/4. You're going to take 4 in the air anyway, unless you wanted to silence the Valkyrie. So you see the Protect again coming in handy. That allows that's a pretty big tempo swing. It makes this attack still profitable. So Love has to like use it, go another turn, like on top with Desert Marshal. So that may give Unearthly enough time to like actually overrun Love Up. Love Up has all these answers. What he doesn't have is the mana to cast them in time potentially.
Yeah, and that really is proving to be the biggest problem here. And now that 2 of the units Unearthly has dropped have Quick Draw. There's the ability I'm looking for. Quick Draw. It's going to be very hard for Love Up to actually block anything. Definitely with the Gem Blade coming down on one of these units, if not just the Flyer. I mean, the Flyer itself is scary enough. And like this clock is very real from Unearthly. He can just start a spacing here without thinking about it.
He's definitely going to alpha. It's just this is a very interesting decision on what you put this Gem Blade on. I think I would have done Rakano Outlaw. It's the best payoff, and also so if they have something like Desert Marshal, you don't want to put it on Champion of Glory, and if they have something like Scorpion Wasp, you don't want to put it on either of the Flyers. The Outlaw is the best of both worlds, where it makes both of those cards bad this turn. So I like putting the Gem Blade on the Rakano Outlaw.
Yeah, I think I do as well. Would have gotten punished by the Scorpion Wasp if he had chosen to put the Gem Blade there. So wisely puts it on something with Quick Draw first. That 6/6 can now be traded away by the Scorpion Wasp. But this really is just a game of Love Up trying desperately to hold on there.
Yeah, we do see by putting the Gem Blade on the Outlaw, Love Up is compelled to silence it, but it's still a 6/6. He still has to do something about it, and this Mirror Disciple Death Toucher will check it a bit, but that's a tap out. He's going to take 4 in the air again this turn. The Champion of Glory it actually just still bumps with the Cumber Healer, but the 4 damage in the air comes through. If Unearthly draws a Deep Forge Plate or Hammer of Might,
oh, and speaking of the Devil, Deep Forge Plate right off the top here. I mean, that's going to do it. Yeah, he's going to stick the plate here, and then there's very little way. I mean, he's not dead this turn, but I mean, he's very close. He has to block the 2/2 into the Valkyrie Enforcer. So the Locust goes into the Valkyrie Enforcer, and then he has to chump block both the units on the ground. And I mean, this is essentially him dead either way.
If Unearthly play in the Valkyrie, isn't it lethal? Right? Because the extra 1 point gets through. It's
yeah, if you
the Valkyrie becomes an 8/8, it has to be blocked. And then
but if you put it on the Valkyrie, then he would have had it either way. Though you do play, not really. I mean, you're not really playing into anything. The only thing I guess you're playing into is like some sort of silence effect out of a Love Up. But honestly, I think he was out of power anyway. And Unearthly ends up taking the series 3-2 in a very close quarterfinals game.
Yeah, and there we saw the tempo of the Rakano deck coming into play there. Unearthly had, Love Up had all the answers to all of Unearthly's threats. He just couldn't deploy all of them in a timely manner, and Unearthly was able to just get ahead and snowball and just push all their damage before the answers from Love Up can come down.
Yeah, just run away very quickly. Let's go ahead and check out our backup match, though. I believe we have Red World against Angry Chicken. So this should be Red World on Fiery Combry versus Angry Chicken on Big Combry. Not quite sure what the game score is, but we will update you as soon as we know.
And this is functionally a mirror match. Largely the same things matter. It's going to be about who can get ahead on board, but not so far ahead that harsh rule blows them out. You still do want to maintain initiative in this matchup. But again, it's a balancing act between staying ahead of your opponent and not getting blown out by harsh rule.
Yeah, definitely. And we see this early Combry healer out of Angry Chicken going to start applying pressure. But on Red World side, obviously Sandstorm and Titan to follow. Angry Chicken looks like he missed a power for this turn because I think he went first.
And as we saw in a previous match, that's one of the more important things. If you get stuck on power, you just get overrun by all of the important late game cards. But there is the fourth, unfortunately, for Angry Chicken.
Yeah, we'll see if he has the Vanquish to follow. No immediate playing of it leads me to believe he doesn't, and he does just pass the turn. So maybe he has Scorpion Wasp, and Red World respecting that, actually just passing his turn, deciding not to attack in, trying to wait until Angry Chicken is powered down to get in with the Sandstorm Titan.
It's interesting because what's going to change about that? The Scorpion Wasp. Like, I guess you can wait till a turn where they tap out, but anything they tap out for is going to make the Sandstorm Time not a profitable block. So, yeah, you get to kind of tempo black hole them, but you're also doing nothing. So I don't know where the Wasp is going. I get not attacking with the Sandstorm Time. I just don't know what's going to change his paradigm.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either. It was also weird. Red World choosing to skip a power drop 2 turns ago. One, he had picked up the Fire Sigil, but decides he doesn't need it. So that was a little bit of a curious decision as well. We see Valkyrie Enforcer coming down and silencing the Titan. And in the meantime, that will let this Valkyrie Enforcer start pushing in. Red World picking up a Mystic Ascendant, going to be really nice for him here. Definitely after seeing the Valkyrie Enforcer come down, going to feel pretty good about that.
Yep, this is one of the more important cards in the matchup. Like this, Seraph, Great Parliament, all of those are late game trumps that when we get to this stage in the game, things revolve around. So we do see that Angry Chicken has the silence for it, but still a 6/6. And the shields are down on Wasp, so both of these big creatures can attack.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be able to punch in here. I have to imagine we'll see probably like a triple block on the Mystic Ascendant, since that's pretty safe here. But actually just electing to eat the damage, interesting. I figured you wouldn't have minded too much losing maybe like a single Valkyrie Enforcer, but Angry Chicken choosing to just eat the damage, not too concerned about it.
I mean, yeah, the game is not about these combo healers anymore. I don't know what else they're going to be doing with their lives. I would have definitely liked to have seen them convert into a gang block on the Mystic Ascendant there, and they actually don't even die, right? Yeah, it was just within the Valkyrie. So
Yeah,
it's an interesting no block, yeah.
Yeah, definitely weird. And now it's even more awkward. I mean, I guess he was trying to play around Stand Together, but I mean, it's still traded out with Stand Together as is. I mean, Angry Chicken's going to have to come up with something pretty big here. Wasp will be a good start, but this Stand Together gives Red World quite a few options here. And it makes basically every block from Angry Chicken very unprofitable. And wow, yeah, just goes down the line. Not even going to need Stand Together. Wow.
Yeah,
so harsh rule very well signaled from Angry Chicken. Not sure why Red World would commit the Seraph here.
Well, it's a free roll, right? Because he knows the harsh rule's coming. He has a Stand Together, so he's just going to throw a thing on board. It's going to live. He gets to attack for lethal.
Of course, yeah, of course. I always forget that. I just protects from harsh rule. It's just so weird coming from Magic. Seeing board sweeper effects cleared up by that. But yeah, Stand Together going to protect all of that and give him a very quick game. And that puts Red World up 2-1 in this series. So we'll see if he can close it out in game 4 or if we will be seeing a game 5.
And that was a game where you saw the person who got ahead was just able to convert that into damage. And because both players are playing stand togethers post sideboard, Harsh Rule isn't the catch-up mechanic you can rely on. Like, you do need to play to the board. You do need to contest creatures with creatures, because if they ever have the stand together for the Harsh Rule, you just lose.
Yeah, very, very true. Let's see. I guess we can check out these players' sideboards a little bit while they're messing around. I know we didn't get to see much of them, unfortunately, but I think they are. Yeah, I think they're about to just jump into game. So we'll see what the changes look like in the decks as we play.
Yeah. Again, like, the most important cards, like Red World in the sideboard, has to stand together. Ikaria, Protect. I think that the cards that generate tempo that allow interaction with the interaction, things like Protect and Stand Together, are going to be the most important cards. I would have expected those to come in. So we'll see if that ends up bearing out as we move into match point for Red World.
Yeah, I'd probably see Ikaria coming in as well out of Red World, I might imagine. That way he has some sort of a nice finisher in this matchup that Angry Chicken won't be able to match himself, since he's on the traditional version of Combri, not splashing a third color.
And Red World is going to be finding a lot of ways. He's going to be spending the next several turns doing a whole bunch of nothing. We'll see if Angry Chicken's able to punish him for it, but generally the Combri deck's not super aggressive this early.
Yeah, it is interesting that from a flavor perspective, Find the Way is an echo card, because you figure once you find the way once, you really don't need to find it again. But in this case, yeah, we're going to see Red World find the way quite a few times. Angry
It's
Chicken.
a process.
It is a process. Apparently a 4-step one here, because we're going to be seeing quite a few of these over the next turns. Meanwhile, this little Combri healer is just going to be beating down, which isn't too significant. Angry Chicken also with what seems like a relatively slow hand. I think he also missed a power drop.
Yeah, this chip damage isn't particularly relevant. Firing off the Great Parliament early for the Owl is a bit of a sign of desperation from Angry Chicken. It's a card that just gets outclassed by everything as we see the Sandstorm Titan come down. It means he's desperate to do something. Probably doesn't have another power. You see the Vanquish here allows 6 damage to come through. That is very good. But if Angry Chicken's unable to find more power, the late game of Red World could just run away with it.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Red World didn't actually choose to fire off the Harsh Rule last turn. I thought that was a decent enough board. Definitely when you have another Harsh Rule and 2 Vanquishes backing it, but electing not to, probably going to... Oh, actually, looks like he wants to find the way for the 4th time instead of get this Marshal down. I'm not too sure about that, but maybe... okay, yeah, I think he's going for the Fire Sigil. That way he can have Ikaria mana, or power, as it were.
Yep, that's actually a pretty astute play. Obviously, very familiar with his deck, knows how sketchy the mana is, what he has to do to alleviate that sketchiness. So, an unintuitive thing that Red World found.
Yeah, let's see what Angry Chicken has to answer. And he does have a Vanquish. I mean, this is choosing not to protect there. Like, I mean, Angry Chicken has pushed Red World down quite low, given that, you know, he is only on 5 power this late into the game. But this should be the point where Red World just, you know, turns the corner and stabilizes. Very curious he doesn't fire a Vanquish off here. Must be a Protect on the other side he's worried about.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be the case. But you have the second Vanquish, and so say they do have Stand Together, you can't block with your Sandstorm Titan anyway. So I think you just like Vanquish if they have Stand Together, Vanquish again if they Protect, Vanquish again. Because right now you're in a spot where I guess he plays the Sandstorm Titan, he didn't have Stand Together, but in Angry Chicken's spot, I think you could have just free roll attacked and bluff Stand Together. Like, he may have just missed 5 damage.
Yeah, I think you do as well. But doesn't do it either way. And now that this Mystic Ascendant is in play, Angry Chicken is the one who needs to answer the board. We're either going to see the Stand Together come out now, or yeah, and wow, this is such a consideration from Red World, because he has to block at least one here. He's trying to preserve the Mystic Ascendant though, and yeah, Stand Together definitely in Angry Chicken's hands. So not only is he going to get this Titan killed, but he also will push another 6 damage, and he's created quite a board state for himself.
And this Protect is likely going to go towards removing one of the opposing Aegises on the Sandstorm Titan rather than protecting one of his own creatures. Although that might change right now. maybe he can't even afford to do this, because how are these Sandstorm Titans dying? I guess you can make your guy at 8/8. It can block, but you're now vulnerable to Vanquish. Bad spot for Red World. Actually, there's 2 lethal creatures. He needs to play Desert Marshal. Yep, and the Wasp. Okay, he's fine.
Yeah, he can survive this board state certainly, but it is a bit of a tricky situation here. If we see a Vanquish come down for Angry Chicken, this is going to be looking real bad for him.
Yeah, I didn't see the Scorpion Wasp in the hand. The Scorpion Wasp makes this a lot better. He has, in a way, to deal with the Sandstorm Titan, although it's not going to chump attack into the 8/8. Even if the 8/8 dies, he's insured.
An Angry Chicken getting his own Mystic Ascendant down, but not having the power to follow it up with, all the while Red World just chugging right along with his own Mystic Ascendant.
Yeah, the Mystic Ascendant is just going to keep running over this game. The Vanquish is going to tag the opposing Mystic Ascendant. As long as Red World is able to keep the board stable and not have this last 4 points get cheated in, he should be able to ride this Mystic Ascendant to victory.
Yeah, he definitely should be able to, but you're right. I mean, there we could see a couple ways to cheat it in. He's going to need a few cards, though. Definitely going to need maybe an Obelisk would help out a little bit here. Obelisk plus Vanquish would be a start. But in the meantime, I mean, we see the Scorpion Wasp hanging out. Red World not too concerned with anything going on. Angry Chicken just committing another Mystic Ascendant to the board.
Which, that's good. If he draws power, he gets to cycle it. Although Angry Chicken's in the awkward spot where if he draws power, he gets to cycle it, but it's not actually really digging him to the important cards, and then the Desert Marshal is going to silence it anyway. So Red World's Mystic Ascendant is just like running over this game. We see another Mystic Ascendant by Angry Chicken. It looks like this one might get to untap, but I think the damage on the side of Red World is just too much. Done.
Yeah, I think it is as well. I think he did manage to stabilize himself just in time.
Yeah, and we'll probably see. It's interesting how much wants to extend into a potential opposing harsh rule. You could play the Seraph, and he is going to. There's certainly an argument that this is very greedy. The O10 has not attacked yet, Red World. O10 Field Captain.
Yeah, has not even started to chunk away here, and I guess Angry Chicken now has a chance to stabilize. And oh man, this is starting to turn into one of these board stalls where I'm not really sure which way it's going to go. I mean, if Red World ever picks up a, okay, that was big. He needed the Valkyrie Enforcer, so he can silence the Mystic Ascendant or the Seraph. Oh man,
and he gets to turn the Owlet.
Yeah, just picking up 0 attack creatures in both cases, but yeah, Red World, if he picks up Marshal Ironthorn, he'll be able to break this board stall in his favor.
Yeah, the Seraph will be going on the side of Angry Chicken. If he gets a couple good hits here in a row, maybe, like if he gets an Ikaria, although the Jack has some things to say about the opposing Seraph.
Yeah, he certainly does. Ooh, and a... is that Hero of the People? Yeah, going to be weirdly relevant with Jack coming down having quick draw, so that'll at least buff it up to a 3/3. Sandstorm Titan can give it endurance as well, take it to a 4/4. So might see a little bit of Voltroning up the Hero of the People unintentionally.
Wasp gives it deadly flying. Like, this Hero of the People serious business.
Yeah, that is actually true, though. I don't see any Sandstorm Titans on... Oh, no, there is one on the very left corner. I got it confused because that Aegis is over there on it, holding it down. Yeah,
it'll have deadly quick draw, though. Like, so it'll be a flying Ashar the Dead Shot. That's what the card is?
Yeah, Ashar the Dead Shot, the 6/3 quick draw deadly. Yeah, from Shadow. Yeah, very true, though. It will be quite scary. And I mean, Angry Chicken is going to have to find something here. I mean, I really feel like he needs a harsh rule himself at this point.
That's certainly a way to stabilize things. Red World's hand isn't that great. So if Angry Chicken has a similar things, that's a way to bring the game back to parity. Ooh, this attack certainly seems to telegraph that.
Yeah, I think this is the signal here. I do believe that this is going to be the signal for the harsh rule, and that's going to bust this board back open in a very interesting way because Red World doesn't really have a lot to reload with here. He's only got a Sandstorm Titan and a Scorpion Wasp.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was greedy by playing Seraph. I do think he played Seraph. And then the Jack he wanted to deal with the opposing Seraph. It wasn't really like misplays that led to this point, but just the way the game played out led Red World to extending into this harsh rule in a way I'm not sure he needed to.
Oh, and there's the stand together. Yeah, Red World mousing over it right off the top of his deck would have obviously won him the game there. But yeah, no stand together from him. Interestingly enough, Angry Chicken, when he plays this Martial Ironthorn, also going to go ahead and grab back this 8-2 Dawnwalker that his Seraph pulled out. And this Dawnwalker is actually a pretty relevant unit as we go farther and farther into this game.
Yeah, this demands a jump like this. Sandstorm Titan's going to have to block it. I mean, I guess Harsh Roll has to come in here. He just attacks the Sandstorm Titan and then has to proliferator on Harsh Roll because now he has to. Is he actually? Yeah, he's just dead. Or no, the Stand Together will take the Vanquish, but
yeah, Stand Together takes Vanquish, but he does still have to block this. Well, no,
it's still dead, right? Yeah.
No, he has to block the Dawnwalker. Goes to 1. He jumps in the Scorpion Wasp to block the Martial Ironthorn. So it depends on what Angry Chicken can reload with here, if he's in trouble or not. If Angry Chicken has some way to reload, Red World definitely going to have to commit one of these harsh rules. But in the meantime, I mean, it's up to him to just kind of play this slowly.
Yep, Angry Chicken does need to draw something, and Red World got there first.
Yeah, and I dare say Great Parliament's good. And even if we see the harsh rule come off here, yeah, Stand Together going to protect these owls. So if there isn't a follow-up harsh rule by Angry Chicken, I think that it's not going to be immediately lethal, but it's hard to imagine that he won't be able to clear him out very quickly with this board. And yeah, we see 20 damage coming in, just absolutely brutal.
An opposing Great Parliament from Angry Chicken doesn't really do it. So yeah, I guess there was no out there for Angry Chicken. That's going to be the game. And that was a really close game. A lot of interesting decisions there on the side of both players.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, a lot of back and forth there. And Red World ends up hitting the top deck that he really needs there. I mean, if that had been a Great Parliament on the other side of the table there and just a power from Red World, we would have seen that game flipped over. And then, yeah, would have seen us go to game 5. But unfortunately for Angry Chicken, Red World ends up taking the series 3-1.
Yep. Those we saw how important the protect effects, both Stand Together and actual protect, were in that matchup. The important cards are so important that as they can stay in play, they allow their controller to snowball out of control or just present an unbeatable board. So the matchup just heavily revolved around who had Stand Together when, and we saw that in the last board state there with the Great Parliament. Red World had the last Stand Together, was able to punch through for lethal.
Yeah, Stand Together really was the kicker there in the end. So huge Stand Together there out of Red World, ends up securing his spot in the top 4. So he will be meeting Unearthly in the top 4, and Toth will be playing Shed in the other top 4 matchup, which I believe will actually be our feature match next round. We do have everything queued up, folks, so do not go anywhere. We are going to take a very, very short break while I grab some water, and we will jump right back into the semifinals.